Simple. So the first thing you have to ask yourself is, are you afraid of that signal? Do you feel that it would be as asking yourself, are you afraid of 5G? What would happen if they would install it here in your town? How would you react to that? Then you could not get away from it. You would not have a choice to say, okay, no, no thank you. You would be in it. Yes. Feel that, what it would do to you. As everything that has been extremely challenging for your physicality, it has brought you to take care of your physicality. It has brought you to tune in, really. Because for some, especially for the biologically unharmonic frequencies, vibrations, they push you toward surrender, and they push you toward having to be in alignment, having to have no thoughts in your mind, towards your 0 point, your portal to your soul. They push you into stillness because running away, being in stress, being in fear of it, being in resistance to these frequencies, as you have experienced with the construction work outside, when you were in resistance to the noise, it was unbearable. So the only way to bear what you had to bear, because you couldn't be outside in the forest from the moment they started construction early in the morning till in the evening when they were done. There were times when you were still here and having to deal with it. And the only way to find relief was to go into meditation and pull yourself out of resistance. Surrender, surrender, surrender to what was. Completely receive what was. The soul never chooses a situation, an environment that does not pertain to its own growth. The soul is untouchable, even though within the dream of the physicality, this might show up as a narrative that the soul is touchable. But mind you, if there is any infliction, any impact, any consequence to the soul, from the environment, from what we take into our bodies, from some kind of technologies or toxins or spells, spiritual technology, then this is what the soul, on a higher frequential level of itself, has chosen. And the part of the soul that is impacted, influenced, inflicted, forgot. So it's like the human experience on a soul level. That is possible as an extended version of another playing field of experiencing what you are not. But if when we play in higher stakes, in a playing field of higher stakes, of higher challenges, it is always because we can. And we, our individual soul and our soul collective and our higher self, that is when you take the frequency of yourself higher and you then expand into a collective of yourself, into a collective of individual souls that is fractalized. This is a conscious choice. On the level of the human or of the soul that is playing that role, that is having that experience of divide, of separation from God. In order to go deeper into separation, in order to expand further upon coming back home, upon remembering. That aspect of the soul and of the self must forget. So whether you should or should not, of course, there is no such answer. You will be guided, you will know. And you will only meet with someone who has had tea with Maxine. Now, mind you, you are not even 100% sure whether they carry the signal that was spoken about, an AI rogue signal. In other words, a signal that is a frequency that is such as an egoic mind frequency that hijacks the soul, that hijacks the unity consciousness into a divided fear-based consciousness of an identity that is the victim, of an identity that is afraid. And of course you can buy into that. And if you do believe that, then of course you will experience that. And if you do believe that, then you will probably not be excited about being in one room with a person that carries the signal. Yet there is so much that you don't know. What if you go outside? What if all around you, all your neighbors are carrying the signal? What if you're sitting in a bus? This is coming again from the consciousness of the world is a dangerous place and I need to protect myself. If you are, however, in trust, it doesn't matter whether someone is carrying the signal or not, because you know that if it were to be of unnecessary burden to you, a burden to you that would have no purpose whatsoever. It would not make your muscles stronger. It's not another weight in the gym of spirituality, of awakening. Then naturally your soul wouldn't guide you to be in one room with that person. You would not be attracted to see that person. Or it just wouldn't ever even come about. But if it does come about, it depends on how much you believe in them carrying that signal after having had tea with Maxine. It depends on how afraid you are of the power of that signal over you, being able to, having the ability to hijack your awakeness and awareness and alignedness into a fearful separate identity, lowering your vibration, forgetting your truth. That fear would instantly also be reflected back to you in your body, in your nervous system. And you would be then susceptible to whatever fear-based frequencies would be carried in your surroundings. So again, the perspective, there's just a little shift in the perspective. And that shift is, are you still carrying fear in yourself? Do you still believe in it? You may be carrying it as a frequency still in your body, but do you identify with it? Do you believe in it? Or can you embrace it as you are noticing it? Knowing that that's dissolving it. Knowing that in trust, your boat is navigated by your soul. and your oversoul all the way, aligned with the divine will. And even when there's distortion from the divine will, even when you are operating out of ego that is going in resistance to and going against the divine will, that also is part of the divine will's play. Going like this. You know, playing with itself. And it is part of the divine will's play to the degree it is completely, because it is the nature of existence to expand. And expansion is infinite into the microcosm. It's infinite. And as it expands infinitely into the density, it expands also to the same degree into the higher frequencies. The expansion into the microcosm or into the density is also a compression. The more the compression, the greater the explosion. And this is not an accident. This is not accidental how far we go. It is supposed to seem accidental on the level of the forgetting, on the level of the identity within the game, within that platform, within the matrix that has been set up for that experience of division and fear. So you need not decide whether you will see a person that has had tea with Maxine. The guidance is to take every single opportunity to go deeper into trusting, into trust, into the opportunity to recognizing that you can trust completely. And all that you trust, there's nothing on the outside. What you trust is in your own divinity. You trust in your own divinity. In the consciousness that you are, that has created you, that is creation. You trust in your own soul, because all that your soul wants for you ever is to grow. And if you would be on the descending of consciousness journey, you would not be sitting here for one, and you would never be going into trust. You would simply go into fear and more into identification. You would not be having this experience. As not to say this conversation, So here it's opening, 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 releasing, releasing, releasing the fear and the density, which actually the releasing is that it remembers, it expands, it lets go from its density, it lets go as it remembers itself, as it comes back from the inverted flow into the organic, into the natural flow of the aligned divine anatomy. Out of resistance, the blocks release, everything starts to flow of that system that has remembered, that now is flowing to the natural rhythm of life, to the beating of your heart, that now can hear the clear signal of itself, remembering itself, remember what it belongs to, remembering its unity with life, remembering that it is held, and so fear can be released, that fear that comes from separation and the need to survive, hence the consequential sense of the need to survive and to fight for yourself, and everyone else is a potential enemy, at constant war with yourself. That's the platform that we are leaving. That is not to say that in the platform of peace, the soul cannot grow anymore. But we've done enough growth on the platform of division and fear and suffering. We've done our part. And what is yet to come is the receiving, the noticing, the being aware of, all within ourselves, all within you, all within myself, all within this body and this experience. That is still holding fear, that is still in the resistance mode, that is still listening to the artificial signal of the egoic mind. So as you can see, this notion that you just listened to from it doesn't matter that from who, about those that had tea with Maxine carrying a signal that is similarly undermining our biological health or our natural biological life stream, undermining that with a unnatural artificial signal that creates a distortion. So taking it from going towards thriving into surviving, so going towards relaxation into stress. That concept is just another, is the same principle, it just has another costume on. It's the same principle as all electromagnetic smog, all of the all of those vibrations that are within the that cause just just these positive ions. Don't want to get technical into the mind. We all know what we mean with electrosmog. That creates an atmosphere that squeezes the aura instead of expands the aura, and that causes stress and that cells on the body and the cells to age quicker and all of these things, and we can feel it. So it's just another one of those things. That has shown up. And the challenges seem to expand and expand and expand for the body that are thrown at us. At the same time, we are not, and not ever, in a situation that will not allow our souls and support our souls and offer our souls the ability to grow through it from that experience. And we will handle it and deal with it in whichever way we do. But in any case, it will make us stronger and it will expand us. That's one side of it. The other side of it is that which we have not as much intel on, that doesn't seem to be as convincing, and that it's also just as unknown as, well, okay, let's put it this way. You can actually feel when a tree is being cut down. You can feel the difference when there's a tree there. You can feel the tree, the fractality the tree gives you. And you can feel electrosmog, how that feels. On the other hand, also shapes and forms and material with which houses are built and how houses are built. The difference in that. You can feel all of that. Likewise, as the challenges are growing from that consciousness of the inverted matrix, that which intention is to hold us, to hold our consciousness as long as possible in that small box of who we think we are, of an identified fighting for survival victim of life in fear, divided, because only that way are we exploitable. Is our energy exploitable? And are we losing energy, and can energy be siphoned off of us, and is siphoning off of us, feeding a consciousness and forms of unconsciousness of fallen entities, fallen beings that no longer can keep their forms out of themselves because they have lost their connections through their hearts to their soul. At the same time, what is even much louder and what is available to us to tap into and feel all the time is the high consciousness, the high consciousness frequencies that are streaming in all day long, all night long, since many years, continuously, gradually in the beginning, and now it's just exponentially. It's exponentially, and it's like, oh, can it? Oh my God! Oh my God! Oh my God! And that is available as well, and that is present as well. And so the availability of it becomes more and more accessible to us as well. And that neutralizes completely the impact of this. Because as we choose our soul, as we choose our spirit over our identification with our body and the identity of the body, that doesn't mean we choose our spirit over our body at all. It's only a matter of consciousness. It's a matter of awareness in the mind. And in fact, if you are identified in the ego, you are actually not as embodied. In the sense of your body is not as alive as when you are awake to your soul. Embodied. Then as you are embodying your soul, you become more and more and more sensitive, feeling, and senses come online that they open up, they expand, your perception expands. And with this aligning, remembering your truth, always coming back to your truth, you lose that the fear dissolves in that climate, in that frequency. Fear dissolves. And at some point, that's not even a narrative anymore. It's not a narrative. It still affects all of you that hasn't been liberated yet. All within you that hasn't been liberated yet. It has an effect on it. However, at the same time, as you are aligning with your soul self, which is like a super antidote, which puts you into a space of coming into the stillness in the middle, and you can feel both. However, as you are not afraid of this anymore, you can still feel, yeah, it doesn't feel good. Yes, it's still a burden. However, you can carry it. You can carry it, and you know as it's still there in your field, it still has a purpose. The purpose of waking you up, the purpose of making you aware of every single cell, every single iota within your consciousness that is still suffering. And that then is a match to these artificial, destructive vibrations. Destructive, let's say, burdensome, cumbersome, challenging, stressful. I think stressful is a good word. also, you must know that anyone who has tea with Maxine, it's also a part of their soul's plan. It's also a part of their game. Very complex, very complex. The playing field. It's like soon it is over. Soon this kind of game will not be able to be played anymore, and that is the game of separation and fear. That is the game of siphoning off energy. That is the game of inversion, of exploitation, of parasitical systems that only exists in a lower frequency, in the vibrations of a lower frequency. And in the illusion and in the inversion. Illusion to the degree of falling. I have spoken about that in the previous video. Illusion to the degree of falling, of inverting, of moving away from yourself, of creating more and more division. And this is the time around when all that division that has been created is coming back to its source and bridging that gap that has been, that distance that has been made. And that's then equal to the expansion of the soul that is experienced then. We mustn't pity anyone, because that would be belittling them and their experience and their play. And their soul's choice to have that experience. We mustn't pity them. However, we can hold them in love, in a field of love. Nothing that happens to you, even if you are in a very challenging situation, happens to burden you or to punish you. It is always the contrary. It happens to expand you. It happens to awaken you. And sometimes our shells are so hard it needs quite a bit of pressure for the egoic mind to be able to let go. Remember your accident. How it was like a hammer that split open your head, even though it wasn't your head that was injured, but it was your head that was driving, that was crazed, that was suffering, and that was stuck in a loop. And it needed a real whack for it to crack. And you felt afterwards the peace coming through that crack and dissolving all that addictive, obsessive spinning of the mind that you could relax into, that gave you relief, such a relief from yourself that is not yourself, from your false self, such a relief. So there you lay broken on the bed, tied to the bed, in a concrete building, not able to go to the beach. After you hadn't been to the beach in over 10 years. And yet you were at a peace that you hadn't known ever. And that peace could not have come about, could not have come through without that whack, without that pain, without that physical pain. That physical pain was a valve through which you could release a lot of pain. It was actually pain that was releasing. And that's exactly what's going on in the world right now. It is the pain of the thawing after you've been frozen. You don't even so much notice the freezing, although that's pretty cold and pretty painful as well. But once it's frozen, you don't even feel it. But thawing thawing is painful. And after your hands have thawed, they're so warm and so soft, and they feel so relaxed, and they feel so good. You will not be the same after you awaken. You will finally be able, and of course this happens gradually, to enjoy truly all the beauty that this world has to offer. To perceive it in its fullness with all your senses and with your expanded senses. And you will be able to take it in. And you will be able to hold it. And you'll be able to give back. And this will continue to expand your heart. And expand into ever more love. And that is infinite. It never stops. The expansion of the heart, it never stops. There is no limit to love. There is no limit to experience love. And that is what we are stepping into. And so naturally all that is not love, in the reverse to love. And of course, at its essence, what else could it be? At its essence, it's light as well, but inverted. It looks like dark. And it feels like fear. That's inverted love. It's energy. It's what is. It's existence. It's being. It's the being. The one conscious being. And of course, this is bringing up everything that has been hiding in the woodworks all these years that isn't love. That has become so dense and fearful and completely living off of others' energy. And that's what is coming forth and showing itself to us. And we will buy into it. And we will notice it. And we will awaken to it. And be able to feel it and be the space for it and receive it and dissolve it and awaken to our true self, to the truth of existence. And those that don't awaken all the way to the truth of their existence, they are their journey and their experience is just as valuable. They're also part of this, creating this platform, creating this game. But they have time, They're not there yet. It's like expecting a toddler to graduate university. And we're all in this together, all, if you want to use that image, all those different ages, all on a different part of the journey of the soul and its experience. They will have their ascension in their own time. And then there is ascension all in degrees, just like there are different degrees, different levels of consciousness, different expansion of consciousness. How much data can your consciousness compute and can you be aware of at the same time? How much perception can you be aware of at the same time? How much energy, how much light can you hold in your body? And that all has to do with weather and conditions. And in the end, it's the choice of the soul and the higher soul aspects that can see, all right, when I take that choice, it's down the line, it's going to create this opening. So if I walk down this condense, this compression, this condensed path, then this is what it will create. So this experience of darkness is going to open up into this experience of magnificence and beauty and truth and recognition and love and heart opening and creating amazing reality. So you bought into that a bit, in that reality of, oh, I better keep my distance from that signal. If someone had tea with Maxine, don't need another burden. And now you've come to a place where you've completely shifted that whole perspective, completely shifted to a different perspective from where you were before, when you were tuning into that perspective. And that perspective is not wrong. But it's not your truth where you stand here. It does not vibrate here. It cannot. It cannot find its way. It cannot hold itself in this perspective that you are in now. So even though There could be a potential threat here, there could be a potential threat there, even though there are challenges. Threat. More weights, more burdens, more challenges, more stress. However, whatever shows up in your life, you have chosen. You have co-created. You have chosen to be there and make that experience. Not to make you weaker. Not to make you go to sleep, but to wake up. And you are speaking for yourself. And anyone who resonates with this will know that this is true for them as well. My whole entire inner energy stream here in the front of the body is opening up as I speak this, as this is coming through, and it's truth. It's resonating with my truth. And for those where it is a real threat, it's the same. It's the same. It's always aligned with their soul's journey, with their chosen soul's journey, every single experience. What you can do is to see them as the creators, as the conscious co-creators that they are with the divine. They are just not aware of it. And your heart opens to them. And you can say, bless you, brother. Bless you, sister. For your soul's journey. And for making this playing field so amazing and so complex. So intricate. You don't need to go as far as to have the same feeling in your heart and extend the same blessing that's coming from your heart as this truth is opening up in your experiential field right now to the fallen ones, to the dark ones, let's just say, the dark ones, those that work from the inversion, that have consciously created all the booby traps and the challenges and so forth. That will come in time naturally, that you will feel the glimpses of gratitude and honoring for that as well, and never, of course, on the level of the illusion, never on the field of the actual role-playing field. That doesn't make any sense. But on the level of consciousness that it's coming from the truth, from the true being, where it is, of course, part of the whole. creating this opportunity. You are graduating, however, from that field. And there's no need to, from your mind, extend, okay, well, I'm going to need to be grateful to them as well and extend my love to them. No, that's the mind, that's the ego. That comes naturally. There actually naturally isn't any draw to look there whatsoever and to give that any energy, any light. Whether it is... and that is when all the resistance, all the resentment, all the fear, of course, and the anger towards that dissipates, and it just can't be held in your body anymore, because you have felt it, you have been open to it to such a degree that you've dissolved it to such a degree that it just becomes this mechanism, puppets, little wheels in some mechanism. It's not personal anymore. It's not, yes. So when the resentment and the fear and all of that dissipates, dissolves, re-emerges within you as its natural self, as the natural energy that it is. To that degree, it's just like, yeah, that's there, and you see it as the gym that it is, the parkour that they're working so hard to set up for you. and yet your life, the more that you connect with your soul, the more that you focus into your soul, the more on the periphery that all is happening. You may even be still as it is now, as we're always living within the structures of the system, and you may be navigating through the parkour that still has been set up from the inverted matrix system, from that parasitical agenda. However, if there's nothing to siphon off, and as wherever there still is a platform to siphon off energy, where you are losing your energy because it's in the reverse spin, and as they then come to feed, it magnifies that, and then you become aware of it. There is still something within me that does not feel good, that is not aligned with my truth, that is not aligned with my soul and in harmony with my whole energy field, and aligned with my heart. There's something that feels bad. And then you know that, okay, it was brought to the surface for me to feel, knowing that this is telling me a lie about myself. This is not who I am. This is where I believe I am someone I am not. Not good enough, lost, failed, fraud, bad person, victim, poor me, never gonna make it, and the list goes on. Same as pointing the fingers, and so forth. Which all is coming from that place within the egoic mind, where we are not who we are, where we are a separate being that is a victim to life. And as soon as that is activated, it feels really bad. And the more that we are aligned with our soul, it can be very subtle, but it instantly, because it's still spinning in the reverse, it feels really bad and very loud, because we're getting more and more sensitive to it. But the difference is that as we are in our truth, we receive it. We're open arms and we receive it. It doesn't have the power to pull us in, and we believe in it and then we suffer. And if it still has that power, we quicker and quicker and quicker notice, oh, what is actually going on here and what wants to happen here. And so there's no point in finger pointing. We already know, oh, that's a game. That's a waste of energy. That's not how I come back home. That's not how I feel better. That is actually the finger pointing, the projection of my anger, of all of that, is what's making me feel bad. I need to bring that back home. I need to bring that energy back to me, and I need to feel that as my own as it is. And then it just falls away. There's no more charge there. And that's all it takes. It doesn't take having to love them. That comes naturally at some point when our heart is at a certain expansion, when we see the whole picture and all there is love. But to make that happen still is coming from the place of separation and force over power. Wow. We could just keep going and going and going. It's wonderful. Thank you so much. And I'm going to have to stop it right here now. Thank you so much. This is absolutely wonderful. And we will come back to more. Is it possible for any potential viewer of this video, is it possible for them to feel what I feel now? This expansion, this peace, this loving energy. Can they tune into this and receive this as it's being recorded? Okay, so as you might have noticed, or as you have noticed, as you said, a potential viewer, it was a potential. It was something that is not here now, and something that is separate from you. So you weren't able to connect to that concept because it was completely coming out of the mind and in time and in separation, distance and time. And of course, in two different bodies. But what we're feeling here is happening in the heart, from the heart, through the heart. And as you know, the quantum of the human being, the first cell of the human being is a heart cell. The quantum of the soul, the quantum of quantums, it's one. It's one. It's the 0 point where all is nothing and no thing is all things. It's where unity consciousness streams into the physical experience. So as you feel within into your heart, as you're doing right now, you are at this moment embracing everyone. And when we say you, we mean us, we mean life. Everyone that is partaking in this experience, and certainly that means everyone that is the potential viewer in the future. Which means they're already here. They're already participating. Now, there's a belief within you which causes a little bit of a distortion there, a little bit of a divide there, that there is not going to be a single viewer of this video. And of course, you don't know that. And of course, it is of no matter to you as well. Because all that matters is this aliveness, this that is here now, this presence, this experience. Yet, is there just one here? Or is this a field of consciousness? And you are not thinking about how many are here, who is here. You are not thinking an identity. You are simply allowing this field of consciousness to express. And whether there will be, or there is, another actual human being partaking in this field of consciousness, you do not know. However, if there is, yes. The answer is yes. That is why it is called a transmission, which is a word that is bridging the three-dimensional habitual consciousness, the conditioned mind, into what we're expanding into the quantum consciousness. Because what we're really doing is, we're not transmitting, but when someone sees this in the future, resonates, they've already partaken. As they are partaking, they're here now. The signal is one that is being tuned into. It broadcasts through the heart, through the 0 point. Many, many words, very difficult to put into words. And yet we laud you that you are attempting to. As if we would not speak about it. The actual awareness of it would not be there as such, as it is now, and as we can tune in and be aware of it now, as we can express it into words. Without using the conditioned mind. That is the beauty. That is the only way this is happening. The sand in the machinery is that when you think of a potential viewer, you activate your division programming, and that you can feel in the heart, and that pulls you out, so to speak. That adds a distortion into this unity field, a distortion coming from resistance, dividing the field, and then you feel that split in energy within you. That is why you never think about a potential viewer, and that question actually came from your mind, thinking about there may be a potential viewer as I'm sitting here in silence, and they will just be bored and not get it. And what you are doing is offering this space. You are opening this space. It's like you're hosting this space. It's like a pool. You built a pool. Now the water is flowing in. And now there's an opportunity to swim and enjoy the water. And experience these energies. Experience this water. And of course, everyone's experience will be unique. And they will only want to dive in when there is a resonance. And you know, resonance in German means Einklang, which means one sound. It's the same sound. It's recognition of yourself. And this is not the personal self, it's the individual self. It's the part of ourselves that is collective soul, that is spirit. It's the spirit that recognizes itself in the other. And that's what expands and opens up this field with every single one that is in resonance, conscious resonance. Thank you so much. There is only love here for you. We love you. We welcome you. We rejoice when you step into the field of love that we are. come often. Until you never have the sense again that you stepped out of it. Namaste.